I've got these, let me just show you. So this is one here that I've already added some Wood-U-Bend molding on, and just so you know, this is Wood-U-Bend 2443, and I'm probably gonna, I may put on both sides, but if not, we'll just do the one side. I still need to paint it. That's the color of the Wood-U-Bend that you get. In fact, this set comes in a set of 2, and so that's gonna be what we've done. These are the other 2 boxes, and I've already painted those. The 2 colors I chose, I strategically chose to go with Dixie Belle Decoupage Papers. So first one I don't have it memorized, but this is the Lovely Sonnet. I've already opened this. In fact, there's a cut out there. And the other one I have is the Vintage Wallpaper. So both of these are going to be ones I'm going to use around these 2 boxes. And then I have already started using the Distressed Damask on this one. I just have one more edge to finish, and I'm going to show you how to do that. But I went ahead and put decoupage paper on the other sides because I needed to put that Wood-U-Bend molding on. I didn't want to do the decoupage paper then put the Wood-U-Bend. But it's going to be interesting to paint it, that's for sure. So that's what I'm working on right now, or with you. So I'm just going to walk you through my techniques. The 2 colors that I chose, again, I used, Dixie Belle has these swatch books that you can use. And I picked these 2 colors because I felt like they coordinated the paper really well. So sometimes it's nice just to hold it up and see how the colors are coordinating. And for the Damask one, I thought the Weeping Willow, one of Dixie Belle's newer colors, let's see if I can grab it here, just worked out really well for that. So that's the logic behind there. But I'm going to try and walk you through the madness step by step so you know exactly how we accomplish that look together. And so that's our goal tonight. On the inside of the box, I've only painted 1 coat, and it really does need 2, and then it's going to need to be top coated, including the outside of the piece. So we may also do some painting on the inside with chalk mineral paint, with Weeping Willow, and with Burlap. So those are the 2 colors I'm going to be using. Sitting around, and I'm going to be doing my best to show you what I'm working on. The first thing I want to do is, here's an extra sheet of the Distressed Damask that I need to put onto the side of the box. So what I've done, and you'll notice at the bottom of the box, I went ahead and wrapped into the box so that, and I'll probably either paint over this or I'll put a strip of other paper or something on the bottom to cover up that overlap, but I just felt it'd be better than being short on the front. Do it however you see fit, but this is the logic that my brain seemed to understand really well. So you can see that I've already pre-cut these sheets of paper to the height that I wanted. Fortunately, the boxes were already white, so I didn't have to paint that. But having a good base coat, a light coat, helps that when you can see through this paper, you're going to see the color underneath. So I could have done a different color, but the white works really well so that the color, the natural color of the paper, comes through the piece. So the first thing we're going to want to do is use Dixie Belle's clear satin top coat, and just get a brush. I'll be using mostly, as much as possible, the artist brush. This is the 1-inch artist brush. So that's all we need to really use. I do need to put some top coat along the bottom. So let's do that right now. And by the way, I had excess on this piece here, and I just, once this all dried, I trimmed off the excess. So I'd recommend that if you do it dry, then you can even take something like a sharp blade and just cut that edge clean. That works out really well. Another technique you can use is also use some sandpaper and sand it while it's wet. And that's another technique I've used as well. So let me just jump on this one real quick. I have 2 more boxes to do, so we have plenty of project. And if you have any questions, of course, don't hesitate to put those in the comments. And if you want, pass this tutorial or demonstration on to somebody you think would enjoy watching it. And again, I thank you for all those that are following or going to be following our live tonight on YouTube. So you can see again, there's where I put my paper. I'll keep that brush handy. This piece of paper again is bigger than it needs to be. So I'm just going to line it up with the top as best as I can. Oh, you know what? Let me show you one more step. One more step I did is I also used my misting bottle and misted the paper. That's gonna help a little bit so it's nice and easy to move around. And it's also gonna help me remove some of the wrinkles. I don't usually overly stress about wrinkles. They're gonna happen, but wetting the paper a little bit with the misting bottle does help kind of keep it movable somewhat. So I'm lifting it up. I definitely want to keep the paper aligned at the top. I'm using my finger right now to kind of smooth it out. There are some other tools you can use, like maybe something like a little bit of a scraper. I don't know about scraper. You don't want to tear the paper, so just be gentle. But right now I'm using this to kind of remove some of the excess air. Now, along the bottom, I'm going to cut, once I find the corner, I'm going to cut out a little V shape so that when it goes to the bottom, it doesn't bind. So it should look like this. And then I'm just going to wrap it to the bottom. All the excess paper that's on here, I'm going to cut off later. But if you had to, you can again. Maybe I should demonstrate that. Let me get some sanding paper and show you what I'm talking about. This is going to be 120 grit. You don't want to overly scratch your project, but you can also run sandpaper along the edge. But there are some really key fibers in that decoupage paper that they're meant to keep this paper in good condition. So like right here, it's kind of binding, but it's working. But I have found that sometimes the sandpaper can sand the side of your piece, but do what you're used to or what you like. And that's just another way. I'll let this dry and I'll put a flat surface underneath this and just use an X-Acto knife and cut that off. It doesn't have any top coat on it, so it's not really causing any harm. The next thing I want to do once you get your decoupage paper on there is go ahead and put another coat of top coat on it. I'll even put it on the edge a little bit just to kind of protect, make sure there's top coat on there. And again, I'm not using sandpaper on this project, but I wanted to show you that is one way that you can remove paper, decoupage paper. But since I have straight lines, I'll use an X-Acto knife. Make sure it's nice and sharp. And then of course, I'm going to go all across the bottom. If you miss a spot, maybe just run the brush underneath it. It doesn't hurt to have excess top coat along the bottom. I am going to cover up a lot of that base anyways. So that's it. So that box has been top coated, and I'm going to set that to the side. Let's work on another box. So I'm going to kind of walk you through the first steps that I had. So this, once again, is the lovely Sonnet, and I've already used part of it. So we'll pull that out. What I'm looking for, the nice thing about this particular paper is that it has a lot of parts to it that you can choose which area of the decoupage paper you want to use. Maybe you want more of the words, or maybe you want more of the flowers. You know, there's some big flowers on part of it. It just really depends on what you want. And I think it would be pretty to almost use more of this smaller section that has a lot of flowers and type. Also, there's a nice clean edge that's happening on here. So I think that would be nice to have. So the way that I am going to cut this is I'm going to use a cutting board. This is probably 11 by 15 or so. So it's a good size cutting board. But it allows me to cut nice, I mean, for this particular project, I would need nice, clean lines. Obviously, you can use this decoupage paper for larger projects, but this one's I've kind of created more of a smaller project approach with it. So I'm cutting bits and pieces out, and see how I'm moving it along. that straight edge. I just want to keep that straight edge going. I don't want to lose it if I can. Okay, so there we go. I'll take off. Oh, I missed it. It's so like hugged to the edge. There we go. I'm doing my best. Okay. Move the excess off to the side. The next thing I want to do is I'm going to turn the paper around. Now I want to use, I used 4.5 inches because I wanted excess to go to the back, and I'll confirm that. I can just lay my box on there and go, yep, that's it. That's plenty. So let's put it at 4.5 inches, and I'll just line it up on both sides, and that'll be good enough. Not looking for perfection, but we do want some nice clean edges because it's just going to make for a better overall result. So 4.5, everything's lining up. We'll put the rest of that off to the side. I don't know if that's enough paper to go all the way around, but if it isn't, I'll cut some more. Just try to make sure, no matter what, that your decoupage paper wraps 3 sides, because you don't want a piece of paper halfway through one of the sides. So great. So remember, one of the goals I'm having, I'm not expecting necessarily to try and keep the set together. So someone might want the roses, another person might want the more rustic look, so it's a win for me. Now, one of the disadvantages I have here is that because it's hard to work on this surface, I might only do 3 sides, I don't know. But the other option is I could put it face down. I'm just trying to think ahead of where am I gonna be here in a bit when I get this thing done. So let me pull that top coat out again. Wipe my brush off. It's kind of clean, it's close enough. You don't want a soppy, wet brush, that's for sure. And I'm just looking at the light to see where I put top coat. I need to remember to mist my piece, my paper. And I tell you what, let's do that real quick. Just gonna mist it, let that just kind of soak up a little bit. Do that off camera a little bit. You maybe saw that. This top coat's gonna stay wet long enough for this small project that I don't have to worry too much about having to work quickly, but you don't want to let it sit around and dry and you forget that you have top coat on here. But if it does dry, let it dry all the way and just go ahead and put another coat on there. That should be fine. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in and passing this video on to others. Hopefully we have a few of our Facebook friends joining us here in YouTube land. So this is the part I was telling you about where I can't really put it on the, can't put it bottom side down because I need to put paper there. So we'll flip it over. All right, there we go. Make sure it's flipped right. And I'm actually going to use my tabletop kind of to help me line it up. And then roughly going to go around, all the way around if I can. We'll see if this works. Hopefully it's lining up really well. The bigger box was wider than my decoupage paper, so it was a little bit pickier. All right, I'm gonna have to pick it up because I want to make sure that I'm getting this lined up. I don't want any white showing, so I'm gonna have to fudge this a little bit. I was hoping it was gonna do a good job. It's not bad, but I don't want to have to paint or touch up anything, so I'm gonna hold one end and line up with the other. There's a little bit of stretch in the paper, especially if you get it misted. Use your hand if you need to kind of flatten it out. But the most important thing right now is getting going all the way around and lining up to the top of the box. All right? Because, and if you notice any trouble areas, then now's the time to get that top coat in there and sticking to your paper and drying. That's your binder, right? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and just hold that around the edge so I have a nice clean corner. Now I'm gonna use scissors, and this is where we're gonna cut that V. So what I'm looking for is for the V to kind of come to a point. You can't just cut a straight line because there's going to be it's going to bind. So try and go all the way, corner to corner. It doesn't have to be perfect. Get it close. So now we'll take off those V's. Missed one. If you need to look underneath, that's okay too. Doesn't really matter how you do it. Can you cut these with other things like, I don't know, knife? Sure, but it'll be a little harder. Like I could lay it down and use my exact knife. It has been a little bit, so I'm gonna go ahead and quickly put a little bit of extra top coat on the bottom because it's taking a little longer than I expected to get to that point. And make sure there's plenty of top coat all the way around. All right, so you see I'm just using my finger to lay it down. Now, it may be that where the paper overlaps, you need to put some top coat. Since I am going to cover a lot of this up, it doesn't hurt to be if you're a little messy. Push that brush underneath the paper, it's fine. You don't want to have to fix any of these problems later on. And then don't forget to come back and put top coat over it. And that just really helps seal it and smooth things out for you. If by chance any of the top doesn't get enough top coat in it, you could probably kind of scrape it in there. There's multiple ways to get top coat. But now the key is, so I'll cut this off later. Don't forget that part I'll do a little bit later on with the straight knife. So let's set that to the side. So what I want to do is spend a little time working on this Wood-U-Bend molding. This is number 2443. And I kind of felt a little perplexed because I'm like, oh, well, I want to paint it, but I also want it to be on paper. I have never done that before. I'm using my X-Acto knife to go ahead and remove this paper because it's going to be in the way. Here's what I would recommend. I think if I did this again, I probably would have taken the Wood-U-Bend and I would have painted it, heated the back, and then glued it. It's not required that you heat it when you glue it, but sometimes they're not flat, and heating it up gives it nice bendable. But it's possible I could heat the back and just paint the front, because right now if I paint this, you know, you're gonna have some paint get on your piece. But I'm okay with that. I really am okay with this. I think I'm gonna go with a little bit more of a aged vibe, and so almost like rustic. So I think it's okay that we get paint on here, but I'm going to do my best to entertain you tonight by showing you me painting a Wood-U-Bend molding on after it's already been applied. Again, this is one of Dixie Belle's artist brushes, and it gives me enough that I can be careful, and also I don't have to keep constantly going back and dipping for more product. Now, I think that turned out pretty well. I don't know that I want to do anything else, but it looks a little flat, doesn't it? Like it needs a little bit more. So I think now's the time for us to step it up a notch. So let's do that. Let's get the Voodoo Gel Stain. I'm not sure which one's going to be the best, but we'll go with the Voodoo Gel Stain. Here we go. So I'm just going to put a little Voodoo Gel Stain in here. I did shake the bottle up before the live. You definitely want to get everything in there mixed really good, so you want to give it a good shake before you use it. Okay, we're going to use another one of Dixie Belle's artist brush. I think this would be the small round. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a little water, mist it. That will allow me the ability to wipe things off easier. So what I'm going to do is, this is where I want to bring out the details. Is I'd like to put a little, I'm almost like staining. My goal is to leave this in the crevices of the Wood-U-Bend. You can work in phases, you know, let's do that. Let's work in phases. Let's put that to the side. A little mist again. Now we're going to come back with our brush, or rag, and we're going to wipe off the high points, the excess paint, and we're going to leave it in the crevices of and I'm not sure that I'm getting it all the areas that I want off. So whatever works for you. I could even see using a Q-tip. I'll tell you what I'm going to do now. I'm going to get another brush, another round. Just happen to have more of these. And I'm going to get this brush wet. And I'm going to use it to kind of clean up some of the edges. I don't really, I think we're just going to have to go all the way in. It was looking a little sloppy, but I think a lot of it's sloppy because I didn't put paint all the way around the sides. Paper with this, and it would definitely make it old. So I'm going back again with my wet rag, and I'm wiping off. So just looking at how much more depth there is compared to a while ago. This is where I was saying I could come back in with some gilding wax. And I may, just to highlight this a little bit more. Another option that we can do is we could add a lighter color. This is Silk Oyster, but instead of going to dye for another color. So instead of using a gilding wax, I'm going to use white, a lighter color. And we're just going to go in there with some Oyster, and we're just going to hit highlights. This is going to bring out the color of the paper, I think, too. Now another thing you can do, you can distress this. Sorry, I'm going to show you guys what I'm doing. So look now how well it's highlighted. So that could be buttercream, sandbar, drop cloth. And if it's too much, you know, wipe it off. Or sand, you know, whatever. But I think that gives it some character. So again, I could come back and I could put some shading around it, but I think it's working out really well. I do still need another coat of Weeping Willow on the inside, just like the other boxes needed a second coat. But I think that worked out really well. So it's a great way to take, if you remember, this is what we started with. And now we've got quite the difference. The other two, I'm not planning on putting Wood-U-Bend on the other two. I just thought I would compose this mood and this theme for this box, and all the other boxes are getting their own thing. So I'll paint the insides of these later, get these pictures all taken, but these are our 3 boxes. And look how great the decoupage paper worked for all 3 of these boxes. And they all have their own character. I think it's great to be able to customly choose the color for the inside. So I think they're going to do well. Again, someone might love this. They may love that. You know, I could sell them as a set, but someone might like them individually. So it's one way to maximize creativity and have some fun too. So, all right, I think we're done here. Y'all have a good night. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Aaron here in the Bowtie Treasure Studio. Until next time, y'all take care, friends. We'll see you later.
That's the end of the show. Make sure you subscribe and ring the bell before you go. Bye!